Good morning, Boker Tov. My name is Mary-Claire Maxwell. I'm going to be your guide here today. I'm part of the board, but in my daily capacity, I'm working at Business Sweden. It is such a great honor to welcome you to the Sweden-Israel Chamber of Commerce Trade Award. And with me here in the studio at Epicenter in Stockholm, I have our chairman, Peter Alberius. You received the prize last year.
Yeah, that's right. A great memory. Thank you, Marie-Claire, and welcome everyone to the Trade Award 2020 Swedish Israel Chamber of Commerce Trade Award. Typically, this is our big event for our members and friends here in Stockholm. But the silver lining of running an event online is, of course, that we can welcome participants and audience from all across the world, in particular from across Sweden and Israel, of course. So without further ado, today's event is, of course, a good excuse for pop up that champagne for a champagne breakfast. So I hope you're all seated well, comfortably in your sofas back home and in offices all across Sweden and Israel. Without further ado, back to you, Marie-Claire, and take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, to me, as an entrepreneur, this is really a great way to connect our ecosystems. And this is what the award is really about and what our chamber is about. So I'm so honored that we have distinguished guests with us online. So first, I would like to hand over the word to our ambassador here in Israel's ambassador here in Sweden, Ambassador Ilan Bendov. Are you with us online? Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Shalom.
Hello, shalom. Good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see all of you, or the two of you. A Boker Tov. Good morning from Stockholm. Nice to see you all. Very happy to be once again with you, although this year only electronically online. Dear members of the Chamber of Commerce, Swedish Israeli Chamber of Commerce, dear Peter, I understand that hopefully the award winners are with us, and I understand that we have also with us my colleague, Ambassador Erik Ullenhag from Israel, also participating. So welcome all. And of course, above all, the winners of this year award, TechBuddy, and of course, the both CEOs, the Swedish CEO, Mr. Nori and Mr. Daniel Peled. Welcome you all, and congratulations for winning this year's award. It's obvious and needless perhaps to say that this year, the year 2021 is a very unique to all of us, is a very unique one to all of us all over the world, and of course the implications that we see on the on everything, and that includes, of course, the business community, the economies all over the world. Now, I'm starting with this because I have seen what TechBuddy is doing generally, and especially what it is doing in Israel, and the wonderful activity in Israel, as I understand, is so important, especially in these times. And I'm referring for what the company is doing for the benefit of the community, of the society, and especially in these times with elderly people. So I really appreciate this, and I appreciate the contribution of TechBuddy and to the whole society, both in Sweden and in Israel. And indeed, the right company in the right time and in the right place. I've seen that both Mr. Nori and of course Mr. Peled have already referred to the similarities that we have in both the I would call it business communities, both in Sweden and in Israel, and that of course includes also the special and unique ecosystem that is so much similar in both countries. I think we spoke about it already in the past in the Chamber of Commerce, especially when it comes to innovation, especially when it comes to an economy that is based on know-how and an economy that is economies in plural that are based on the human resource. I think that these are things that are common both to the Swedish business community and the Israeli ones. And in this sense, I see a TechBuddy as a sort of a microcosmos of what is happening in the business relations between Sweden and Israel, and this is of course very, very encouraging. We are seeing almost on a daily basis more and more Swedish and Israeli companies working together, cooperating together. We see growing numbers of Israeli companies presence here or arriving here to Sweden and vice versa, and that includes also some big investments that are done by Swedish companies in Israel. In this respect, I would like once again simply to congratulate TechBuddy, to congratulate the CEOs and encourage them to continue and to contribute and to continue to work hard both here in Sweden and in Israel. I am sure that we in the next in the future, I'm sure that we will hear more and more about TechBuddy both in Sweden and in Israel. I would like to encourage you. I would use any opportunity to meet you in the future and wish you all the best and a lot of success, both in Sweden and in Israel. Thank you. And just allow me to say that I would apologize for having to leave in about 15 minutes because there is an important discussion today in the Swedish Parliament and I have to attend it. Thank you so much. Toda rabba. Tack så mycket.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. We are so happy that you could join us during this event. Now, as Peter spoke about earlier, the silver lining of hosting this event online, we are going to travel over to Israel and meet Sweden's Ambassador Erik Ullenhag.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Hello, good to see you. I hope you hear me.
Yes, we do. The screen is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Ilan, for nice words from Stockholm. And I hope you enjoyed the winter in Stockholm, even if the snow is gone now. Yesterday, I walked into Hebrew University. I was there for a visit for seeing what we could do more when it comes to focus on a Nordic model, and the university is interested in more cooperation with Swedish universities. If you go into the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, you are met by the name of Albert Einstein. You are met by the name of other governors that were among the people creating Hebrew University. You have from Hebrew University 15 Nobel Prize laureates. For me, that was a reminder why Sweden and Israel should operate even more. Israel is a smart country. And if you are a Swedish company thinking of trying to invest in a country where you could actually learn something from people, then Israel is one country to go to. Not everyone in Israel is Albert Einstein, but it's interesting that he spent so much of his time at Hebrew. And I felt a little bit going in there, if you were a student at the university and being met by Albert Einstein, it sent a signal that you need to work slightly harder to compensate for you probably don't want to meet his smartness. Another good reason for, I'm quite new in Israel, but when you're in Israel for a while, you realize that this is, as Sweden, an extremely innovative country. We are both top 10 on the list, latest ranking when it comes to be the most innovative countries in the world. For the moment, Sweden is number 5 and Israel is number 7. But it could be even higher if we learn from each other. So another reason for companies to look more to Israel is Israel being a really innovative country. And of course, that this country and the city I'm in for the moment, Tel Aviv, is a tech hub, just like Stockholm. And that's one of the reasons for why Sweden try to prioritize and try to help Swedish companies coming to Israel and vice versa. The hub of Tel Aviv and the hub of Stockholm together could create actually wonders, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to learn more today. I would like to also thank a lot Peter and the others in the Chamber of Commerce for what you are doing and for our Israeli counterparts. I would like to congratulate, of course, TechBuddy, but I would love to learn more about what TechBuddy is doing. If I should, with my short experience in country, point at 3 areas where that is extra interesting for Swedish companies and for Sweden to look into in Israel. It's firstly, of course, high tech and innovation. I already mentioned it. Secondly, health and life science. I have, for the moment, slightly bad conscience because I got my second shot of vaccine the other day. My daughter, 16 years old, she got her second shot of vaccine. At the same time, my over 80 years old mother in Sweden didn't get her vaccine yet. For me, the whole vaccination program you see in Israel now is a reminder of the strength of the health system and the life science of Israel, where we can learn from each other and also work more together. A third area of cooperation I see in the coming years is trying to find common solutions to the climate crisis. We are actually leading in Sweden in this, and Israel is trying to advance as well. A final point from my side is also that Israel now, since I came in September, and it's interesting to follow, is in a formative stage when it comes to maybe becoming more of a hub in the region as well. You shouldn't underestimate the Abraham Accords, the normalizations deal between Israel, UAE, Bahrain, and other countries, and it might come other countries after that. The business opportunities you will see and the vibrant climate that creates is going to be extremely interesting to follow. So in coming years, also Tel Aviv could be the hub to go to the Gulf and maybe vice versa for Swedish companies. That was some words from my side. Thank you again for organizing this. Sorry for probably some technical problem because I needed to go into my telephone. So I hope somebody heard something. Otherwise, I spoke for myself. I'm looking forward to learn a little bit more during the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, and we heard you loud and clear, so no worries at all. Before we leave the ambassadors, Peter, you wanted to thank them as well.
Absolutely. I hope you hear me, Erik. I hope you hear me, Ilan. Thank you so much, both Ilan and Erik, for your great contributions. The collaboration with the embassies is, of course, incredibly important for us here at the Chamber of Commerce. So we really thank you for your support and very insightful introductions to today's themes. With that said, we go over to Marie-Claire again and presenting 2 presenters that are also very important for stimulating the collaborations here between our two ecosystems. So Marie-Claire.
Thank you. Yes, to dig a little bit deeper how we can connect with Israel and Tel Aviv, I'm glad to be able to introduce my colleague Christian Karlsson and also Vinnova's representative who is heading the office in Vienna or in Tel Aviv, of course. So, but first out, Christian. So the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Marie-Claire and Peter as well. I'm actually calling in from Vienna, where I'm located, which is also the middle point between Sweden and Israel. First of all, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for the invitation and being able to share a few minutes here of our point of view. Also, of course, big congratulations to TechBuddy, to Tahero and the rest of the team. I had the opportunity to meet you first in 2017 when I was working in Madrid, in Spain, and I've been following you since then. And from my perspective with international business development, and I've seen your growth there, and I think it's a very good choice for this award. And you're, yeah, it's an amazing company. It's really good. So congratulations to that. I'm going to share a little bit briefly about what we work and how we see the connection between Sweden and Israel. A little bit briefly what we are doing, but also above all the match we see between Sweden and Israel. I think both ambassadors before have touched upon points, and I'll try not to be redundant on that, and I'll try to make it quite short as well. Business Sweden as a Swedish Trade and Invest Council, we work both with promotion activities and also hands-on directly with specific companies. We do that to help Swedish companies on the international growth, so Swedish companies coming into Israel, but also, of course, on the investment side, trying to attract investments to Sweden. At the moment, for example, we see a growth in the interest from Swedish companies in their, let's say, commercial agenda to expand into Israel. We've seen this for a couple of years, and I think as the ambassador just mentioned, Erik Ullenhag, that the healthcare and life science is one of those sectors where we see this increase quite a lot. We are currently having a couple of projects running at the moment in this field, but we also look into infrastructure investments and other things happening, of course. And we have also recently been working quite new with the investor side. In 2019, we started a little bit collaborating and raising the awareness of Israeli venture capital companies towards the Swedish startups. Since 2018, when we started a pre-study to look into the innovation side and how we could match Sweden and Israel there, we started what today is one of our flagship projects together with the Embassy and Vinnova and a lot of other partners around the innovation, bringing the innovation ecosystems together, which we will present a little bit afterwards here as well, the connector. But before that, the match between the Sweden and Israeli markets are not only a good match, I would say, it's also very interesting and triggering curiosity, I would say. We could basically look on these innovation statistics in different views of a lot of different statistics, and always you can see how Israel and Sweden are ranking very high. It's independent if we look on innovation ranking, R&D spending, patents per capita, researcher concentration, etc., etc. Both countries are fighting about the top 5, top 10 positions, I would say. On the other side, looking at the industrial landscape, we could say that Sweden is a country that's a little bit unique by being quite a small country, same size as Israel more or less, but also having the largest multinational companies per capita. So we are a small company, but with a lot of large multinational companies. Looking at Israel, it's a good match because it's kind of, at the moment, or has been, the opposite. It's a same size country, but with a thriving startup scene and small companies and entrepreneurship that, of course, the startup nation. And this also is reflected if you look into innovation. Some part, 75% of the private R&D in Sweden is made by the manufacturing industry versus of course, a startup-driven innovation that's been the tradition in Israel. Now going a little bit more into growth field, of course. But also said that both countries have this complete and amazing startup ecosystems that really take care and nurture and grow these startups into unicorns and larger companies. And that is, of course, a mix of different factors, and there are different factors in Sweden and Israel, but it's really the unique environment that support these companies that are so important, and that makes us having really cutting-edge startups on both sides. Looking at unicorns, for example, we can see that we often say that Sweden or Stockholm has the highest number of unicorns per capita after Silicon Valley, looking at area. But if we look at countries, by far Israel is the #1 country in unicorns per capita. We also have an interesting area if we look into the funding of startups. We have in Sweden a peculiar and kind of unique stock market with early IPOs for very small companies, versus in Israel a thriving venture capitalist ecosystem and availability of funding through different stages. Adding to these, of course, we also have the flexibility, the openness for innovation, differences in culture, but also some different, let's say, different approaches, but with the same aim. We are flat organization in Sweden, and the lack of hierarchy in Israel, entrepreneurial mindset and very driven people in both countries. Of course, there's a lot of difference later in decision-making processes and other things, but that's something I find is quite exciting. And just to end, I'm also would like to agree that the new openings in Israel, the peace treatment and so on with UAE will probably change also our work. We're already starting to see how we can collaborate with our office in Dubai in that sense. We also see an interesting match where Israeli companies have their first, let's say, international market is the US. We would really like to see how we can start working more and see how Swedish companies could partner up with Israeli companies to enter the US through partnership with Israeli companies maybe, and the opposite, how could Sweden be the gateway for Israeli companies to enter the European market. So that's a little bit the short view from our side. I will hand over to Anne-Marie Fineman here at Vinnova.
Thank you, Christian. That was a great introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And it's great to see that there is collaboration in trade and innovation going on between Sweden and Israel. So congratulations to TechBuddy. I met with you when I first came here in 2018, and it's great to see that you're being so successful, and I look forward to you as well going forward. So just a few words about Vinnova in Tel Aviv. We established the office here in Tel Aviv in 2018. It's an assignment from the government, and I think the reasoning behind it has probably been explained very well by our ambassadors and also by Christian. So I think that's kind of goes without saying. The primary focus is for us to work with connecting Sweden's and Israel's innovation ecosystems. And as you know, Vinnova is the Sweden's innovation agency, reporting to the Ministry of Enterprise and Innovation. And we do a lot of funding of innovation projects and try to facilitate and promote collaboration so that innovation can happen. And international collaboration is one of the very important areas. So we try to connect with a number of different countries where there will be mutual benefits from collaborating, and Israel is one of them, where we then also have the office, and we have also an office in Silicon Valley. And so the idea of what we do here is create processes, platforms, and structures for innovation collaboration, together with a number of partners, both in Sweden and in Israel. The office is the pictures that you see on this. One is a view from the balcony of the embassy, because I'm also the innovation counselor at the Embassy of Sweden in Tel Aviv. And the other side, there are a couple of photographs from the Vinnova office at Mindspace in Rothschild Boulevard in central Tel Aviv. So what exactly then are we doing? So I'd like to mention a few things that are going on at the moment. So we can have the next slide, please. Right. So one of the things we're doing at the moment is something the Nordic Israeli Innovation Academy. It's a Nordic initiative that we're doing together with all of the other Nordic embassies, Denmark, Sweden, obviously, Norway, Finland, and the Faroe Islands. And it's, we call it Train the Trainer program for Nordic innovation leaders. And Nordic innovation leaders could be leaders of incubators, could be leaders of science parks, could be leaders within a municipality who work with developing their startup system, etc. So the idea is to focus on the Israeli best practice on how to work with startups and to make that available to the Nordic innovation leaders. It's a program that is starting now in April, and it'll be open for registration within a week. And another with that program, we're also doing a mentoring program, because we would like to see a more long-term collaboration between Sweden and Israel in the innovation space and in the ecosystems. So limited number of participants in the Innovation Academy. We are also offering a mentoring program that will go on from May to November, through which, if you participate, you will be able to meet and discuss with people who are in the Israeli green tech ecosystem. In addition to that, we're also discussing doing bilateral calls. Our number here in Israel, the Israel Innovation Authority. So we're in discussions with them to see if we can offer joint finance possibilities through bilateral calls. It'll be within the framework, and currently we're thinking with a focus on agri-food tech and or health tech. So that's something that's going on as well. And if you'd like to know more about what's going on, there's a link group. The link is on the slide there. So please, it's a members group. So please, if you're interested, apply for membership and what's going on there. And we're also planning to have an information meeting, an online information meeting on March 11, where we will talk a little bit more about what's going on. Last but definitely not least, quite the opposite, in fact, we are working, which is also a platform for innovation collaboration between Sweden and Israel. So, we're doing that together with Team Sweden. Christian, would you take us off and talk a little bit, tell us a little bit more about the connector?
Yes, sure. Thank you. So the connector was, we started in 2018 with a pre-study looking into how could we support bringing together Swedish and Israeli innovation ecosystems. And we, together with the embassy and with Vinnova, we started this platform, which is very flexible platform, I would say, where we aim to do different activities, and we're doing different activities under these. The aim is really to spur the innovation projects between Sweden and Israeli innovation agents. And it's co-financed by all three entities here, by Business Sweden, by the embassy and Vinnova. So it's a really co-creation project, and then we have a lot of partners both in Sweden and Israel, of course. But I will hand over, Anne-Marie, if you want to present the next slide, maybe a little bit what our focus is.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, as Christian was saying, this is a platform for innovation collaboration. So we're combining, trying to create opportunities for different organizations in Sweden and Israel to meet and to discuss. These meetings and discussions, they could end up in commercial relationships, could end up in joint innovation projects. They could end up in acquisitions, commercial partnerships, investments, sales. I mean, there is a very, very close connection between trade and innovation. They tend to go hand in hand. So there are many opportunities for different types of collaboration through this platform, where still innovation is kind of at the heart of it. And we started this with a pilot last year. So why don't you tell us some more about the results that we did last year, Christian?
Yes, definitely. So if we look at the next slide, just a short outcome and snapshot. We did this pilot. It was focusing on AI, and this collaboration is really, we try to do it very outcome-based and really hands-on. So there's a long process of months before this conference taking place, where we matchmake, we narrow down challenges and so on. So it's kind of a closed conference with people who really are interested to create these innovation consortia and innovation ideas. And then we also, let's say the fireworks is a conference, which we had, was planned in March. We had to cancel by all the reasons you know. So we did it digital in June. But anyway, had a very great outcome. And we had more or less 190 participants, 130 pre-booked one-to-one meetings that took place the same afternoon. And we had 3 innovation consortia that participated in the call for funding, for public funding, that the Israeli Innovation Authority and Vinnova connected to this initiative. But then we have, I would say, between 5 and 10 other ongoing discussions still between Swedish and Israeli organizations that we are aware of. Then there might be, of course, other ones. And looking just at a snapshot as well of the partners that participated and companies that are there. We are currently now kicking off to 2021. So we are starting to creating that. We have a small workshop in April focused on health, and in October we will do a new edition of the June conference, this time on AI and cybersecurity. Thank you very much. I think that's all from our side.
Thank you so much, Christian and Anne-Marie. It's really fantastic to see that what the Team Sweden can do together. Indeed, a lot of connections going on, and the Connector, a brilliant initiative fostering the matchmaking, be it in a live event or, as you managed to do, pivot digitally. Fantastic, and great that the initiative continues as well. But now it is finally award time. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Marie-Claire, and to all speakers, of course. And as you said, Marie-Claire, now it's the main event starts. Finally, we had a half an hour introduction warm up. Tahero, I hope you feel comfortable standing here on stage. Finally, it's our great pleasure to have you on board here. And I will very shortly introduce the significance of this prize. We have previous prize winners include Volvo, Telia, Klarna, and actually RISE, where I work, and it was really my pleasure to accepting this award on behalf of RISE a year ago. The motivation for this year's prize is indeed, and in recognition of TechBuddy, who has demonstrated that Israel is indeed a high-tech market for a Swedish platform-based business model in an emerging gig economy. Okay, I have to admit it was a bit long, and I don't really comprehend everything I just said. So I'm really looking forward to hear the great story from TechBuddy, and with your colleague on board, Daniel Peled. Tahero, over to you and Marie-Claire for the discussion on this ceremony. So, Tahero.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Marie. It's great to be here. it's of course such a distinguished audience, and I think it's an honor for me in behalf of the entire TechBuddy team to be here and accept this award in front of all of you. Ambassadors Anne-Marie, Christian, Anne-Marie, great to see you as well in the screen, and everyone else in this call. And I really appreciate that you guys are recognizing our work, and it's incredibly grateful and also very proud, I must say, because what we have achieved in Israel is just an incredible achievement, thanks to the hard work of Daniel and our team in Israel. I mean, we grew with 1,200% versus 2019, and it's clear that our company is filling in a massive gap in a very, very digitalized world. And I think I was just preparing just some note for this event yesterday evening, and the English poet John Donne wrote in 1624 that no man is an island by itself, and every man is a piece of the continent. And of course, with TechBuddy, the vision and the mission has always been to connecting the dots and creating bridges. And the foundation of TechBuddy from the beginning was, of course, many reasons. And the most important was that everyone can create their own story thanks to our platform. And that has been part of us being very international company since its foundation. TechBuddy is established in Sweden, Israel, Germany, Spain. And there's an idea of this expansion plan that we have had is basically trying to connect Israel to the Middle East, Spain to the Latin America, and of course, as we go the part of expansion in rest of Europe. And I think one of the greatest part of it we can see in our achievement in Israel is that we're living in a very digitalized world, and unfortunately, the gap between the elderly and as well the rest of the society is creating a lot of exclusion. So our elderly is really not keeping up the space in digitalization, and that's what we have achieved with TechBuddy. Of course, we see that the pandemic has accelerated this topic. And I will let Daniel present by himself all the achievement and great things that we have done in Israel, which is going to be duplicated in other countries. Like in Germany, we are about to digitalize 40,000 schools. You can imagine with the enforcement of that things needs to be done differently. And our company, the combination of technology and human being, it has created great value. So we are solving problems, we're creating job opportunities, and we're creating value for our stakeholders. And as well, partly seeing that bringing TechBuddy as a company to Israel is creating a lot of innovation. And I'm definitely admiring the team achievement by saying that how do we taking the best out of every country's best practices to create our company to be more successful, and an amount of partnership, not only looking at with the municipality, looking at how TechBuddy has created super transparency in the projects that we had in Jerusalem by showcasing, thanks to our technology, how the tax money is being utilized on every penny by really helping these 25,000 customers. So we have spent in average probably 1 hour in 25,000 customers' home, understanding how can you develop that business opportunity into multiple different areas. And one of the main reasons why we established Israel, of course, besides Daniel and Roy and seeing that this entrepreneurial spirit, was that disrupting the retail. Retail is very behind in Israel, and we thought that we're going to create the retail 3.0 in Israel. And looking at, I would love that Daniel dig a little bit more into this detail and demonstrate all the achievement we have done with not only supporting the customer, but as well bringing the experience in the consumer's home by, what's tailor-made for the customer needs. That's what I'm mostly excited about. Hopefully this pandemic is behind us. A big congrats to Israel with the vaccination process. It's admirable to see, and just hearing the ambassador Erik mentioning about that is, for me, being sweet as well, and feeling that we are so behind with that. That's a lot of learning. Last, of course, this is the first step for us in Israel. I mean, we have opened up our platform, our technology. We are going to be laser focused on tech support on demand, but now opening up our platform for other companies, for example, in Israel or in Spain or in Germany, they utilizing our platform to create their own fleet service. That's the next step in our development, and Israel will be a big part of our R&D by integrating many things that is related to AI, machine learning, because TechBuddy might be perceived as a big company. Of course, we have a big heart, we have big ambitions, and you will hear much more about us. It's indeed to continue to develop our platform by being around one individual that is not probably hired by TechBuddy, but doing multiple different tasks, because that's the future. We see that gig economy, we want to be pioneer in the gig economy by creating a new format of employment. It's incredible to see in Israel, with one of the probably lowest unemployment rate, how many TechBuddies are applying, because you work with what you love. You're deciding your own time and schedule. You make great money, and you're part of a community. So
I just love the passion you have for what you do, Tahero, and I think that's also why you have been so incredibly successful. And no wonder that you managed to find both capital and great people to work with you around the world. But I think also the fantasticness of this event is that we have Daniel with us over in Tel Aviv. So let's hear from him, and how did it start from your side? Working for a Swedish startup and working with Tahero.
Good morning, Boker Tov from Tel Aviv. So honored to be here. For me and for all TechBuddy members, this event ceremony is amazing. I would like to say warm thank you to the ambassadors and to you guys to arrange this ceremony and choose TechBuddy to be the winner this year. For me, TechBuddy, the story started in 2018. It was a really cool roller coaster. I met Tahero a few times. It was a love from the first sight. Not just for Tahero, but also for the TechBuddy vision and mission at the end. I really love the idea behind and how we can contribute for the society and help them to overcome digital barriers at the end. What I most like in TechBuddy is the fact that, we are really flexible. We are doing different things in different countries. We started from tech support, and then we changed to other direction, and we do also education, and we do also installation of devices, and we try to bring a solution that will be a holistic solution for tech at the end. So, as I said, we started at 2018, but we saw a great progress in 2019, and step by step we became a really great company in Israel, and we also attract investment locally from Teleklal Group. And I would like to say thank you for Yoav Ben Yakar, the founder of Teleklal, that believe in the idea of TechBuddy from the first sight. It really helped us to overcome 2019 and to be prepared to 2020. So we took all the methods from the Swedish company and from the guys in Spain and Germany as well, and we developed the business in Israel. And then suddenly the world paused and COVID-19 came, and everything that we knew before changed. So for us, we had to take a few days to understand, how this pandemic is affecting us as a business, as a company. Since, the bread and butter of TechBuddy is on-site visits for customer that needs tech support. And I think that we really quick understood that there is a big opportunity here for us, since, the COVID-19 creates, as Tahero said before, a really big fraction of the way that seniors and others population that have like a really low digital literacy, how they handle all this situation. They used to go to the banks, they used to go to the supermarkets, they used to purchase things in like frontal stores, but now they can do it. So they stay behind, isolated, can communicate with their families, can purchase like important things for them. And we develop a kind of unique approach to help those people that stay behind. And I think that, I don't call it a pivot, because we did a pivot. The product of TechBuddy obviously is amazing and customized for what we need. But I think that what we need is a change in the way that we thought, and we moved from one direction that was really clear for us for other direction that was new for us. And I think that it was a really smart move that helped us to overcome the COVID-19 in a really successful way. As Tahero said, the amount of task and the way that the Israeli company look like in like perspective of 1 year since the pandemic started. So it's amazing to see how we grow and how we overcome this pandemic. I would like to take this another 2 minutes to discuss about, our biggest partnership in Israel that connected to the municipalities and to the government. So in July 2020, we started a cooperation with Jerusalem municipality, with the Ministry of the National Digital and the Jerusalem office in the government. The idea was to create innovative training plans for seniors. The approach includes an education center that we built in Jerusalem with professional trainers that teach seniors individually and in groups, through video calls, through home visits. It really depends, on your level of digital literacy. So we build a customer solution, helping the seniors from remote, helping them by coming to their houses and helping them to overcome digital literacy. In the last 6 months, we, I can say help, but to be honest, it's much more than help. We help them to go for digital independency. For more than 8,000 people in Jerusalem, and it's just the start for us. There is in Jerusalem 50,000 people that are seniors that now need our help, and in entire Israel we're talking about more than 1 million people that considered as without any digital literacy, and the gap here is big. There is kind of ironic thing in Israel because everyone is talking about the startup nation, and that's true. A lot of startups came from Israel, but at the end, when diving into the society, you see that there is a big gap between people here that needed to be tackled and needed to be solved. So I think that what we are doing is to get to this direction, and because this project in Jerusalem is so successful, we are now expanding or talking with the government to expand it to another 100 municipalities here. So it's going to be a national project. So yeah, I'm really proud of it and about what we did here and how we are helping the society to overcome some of of the bad impact of the pandemic.
I think it's absolutely incredible to hear how TechBuddies, how you have been a lifeline to so many people. It's amazing. I was picking up two other words during your presentation. It's about localization, part of the TechBuddy philosophy, and also how you have managed to pivot during this crisis. Tahero, do you want to add on to what Daniel was saying on this is in your philosophy from Tahero?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. It was a great description, and I would say that building a business for future is more than ever about impact and CSR, and building the flexibility and having an asset-light business model. It's a big part of the future when you're creating the business. And looking at the adjustment we did in our business model, I mean, you can imagine that we're sitting, all of us, in a call from all the countries called in. Suddenly, you can send out people to customers' home. It's not. It was illegal in Spain, so our business got entirely affected, unfortunately, by that. But feeling that, how can we adjust and really filling a gap by knowing that people will get isolated and there's going to be lots of challenges is one of the example you could see in Israel, Marie. So and that's definitely by looking at what Daniel is highlighting, the public sector. I mean, in Sweden only we have it was in Dagens Industri that you have 1 million people that are outside of the society, and being outside of the society doesn't really any longer just correlate with immigrants. It's as well our elderly that cannot be adapting and be connected to the world because the development of our technology. And Daniel highlighted another good example that suddenly they could not go to the banks, they could not go to the grocery store. And how do you do all of that? I mean, for our generation might be very easy to do it, but being this, again, I'm going back, no man is an island by itself. It's here is that we can create a lot of good stories on top of our platform. And again, we strongly believe that the future is the model of TechBuddy by giving this local adjustment in the business to facing the challenges in the society, but creating value and creating jobs.
So I was thinking about, the challenge this year and how also there's a challenge for people in the gig economy to be said, and not only to do their job, but also to make it a safe environment for them so that they get their money. And I think this has been discussed quite a lot, the gig economy and the platform. And you've said that you want to democratize and make this, one of a possibility and a great opportunity for a lot of people to work in the gig economy, but to make it feel safer and something that they can do with their hearts. How have you managed to create that safety for all the people working for you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And from day one, for us, it's been very important to make sure that our buddies, we call them for our buddies, we know them by name, we know exactly how we should continue to invest in education, developing them. So it's really focusing on community and dedicating lots of time, because these buddies are the one that is facing the customer. And this can be a very long discussion, but overcoming that challenge in the German market is a proof of how waterproof this model is. And in SVT in Sweden, there was a documentary about that. They look at 25 gig economy companies, and one of the most appreciated one was TechBuddy, because we're really dedicating time and passion. Because you know, lots of the part of the business that we have created, at me coming as an immigrant kid by myself to Sweden, I know how it is to really get everyone a second chance. Every person, every human being needs a second chance. And here is again going back on democratizing opportunities, but really not focusing only on delivering the food for as less money as possible, but really focusing on the white collar job, to developing skills, developing community, and making sure that every voice is heard. Quite often, these topics of gig economy is being perceived as a negative thing. It's coming from inside the community because the people, the writer, are not being heard.
But I think you are definitely changing this, and you know, the word of mouth out there in the city, because now you can connect with you in so many ways. I can you know, work with you or find buddies as a private person, but also I find ways to get your support via other business-to-business partners as well. So you are becoming part of the buddy ecosystem and the gig workers in so many different ways here in Sweden and obviously elsewhere. Daniel, over to you in Tel Aviv. You know, the buddies there. How do they feel? Do you want to share some insights from them?
Yeah, no, I want to share some, I think, value point about the Israeli market. Just a few years ago, there were hardly, you know, global companies that coming to Israel for, you know, testing the product for the marketing. The ones that came for the R&D. And I think that we see in the last few years, and basically TechBuddy did the same road, like, you know, it's not so let's say unique. It's kind of unique to see a company that coming from global area and coming to Israel to test the market. And I think that in the last few years, we started to see much more companies that doing that. We can talk about Walt that came to Israel, and the penetration here in the Israeli market was the best penetration that they show in any other country. We can talk about Uber and Bird and many more companies that coming to Israel for the market. And I think that this is a change that is coming from few, let's say, reasons. One of them is the fact that we are not such a small country like we used to be. Israel is 10 million people, like Sweden, growing dramatically. But when talking about the area of the country, that didn't change. You know, we are still a small company, and that's advantage for startups that want to test their product. For us, TechBuddy, if we take an example, to onboard, let's say, 20 or 30 buddies in the area of Tel Aviv that cover, let's say, 60 or 70% of the population in Israel, that was a really big advantage for us in the beginning. You know, if I'm comparing it to Sweden, that is bigger dramatically than Israel, it's hard to send, you know, to the north of Sweden somebody that is, you know, for area that is not such a crowded place. And the third reason, I think, is the fact that, you know, Israeli are early adopters. When we feel that the technology is good for us, we know how to use it, and we can see it in other products that came. So global companies that want to test their product, I think Israel is a really good place to get a fit market and see if it's work or not. And if you're talking about the gig economy, yeah, I think that Israel, as we saw it, you know, when the pandemic arrived, the unemployment rate is really higher here. You know, it's around 15 to 20%. Before the pandemic, it was 4%. So it's amazing increase, and we see it also in the demand of people that are like reaching out to us and looking for a job. So for us, it's like both ways. We also challenging the way that the seniors are like getting service right now, but we're also helping the younger society to get some payments in this time that's not so obvious.
Absolutely, yeah. it's really incredible to hear about your journey and what your buddies are doing around the world. We only have a few seconds left. I feel that we could really would love to pick your brains how to launch successfully and how to build the company. So I hope we can get back to you, and I hope that this really has inspired a lot of entrepreneurs here in Sweden to take the step and explore opportunities in Israel. And also, of course, we'd like to see even more talent and friends from Tel Aviv and from Israel coming here. And naturally, us at the Chamber would love to be that bridge together with our friends at Team Sweden. Last few seconds for you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marie-Claire. Excellent hosting here. And thank you so much, Tahero and Daniel, for your presentation. Really inspiring. Two last words from me. Thank you, everyone joining online. We can't wait to see you in real life, of course. We've had more than 55 participants at today's event, so you have not been as alone, as lonely as you feel in your home office or in your sofas. We are a bigger and bigger community here. And for those of us following us on LinkedIn, and take a look at our newly updated homepage as well. It looks great now, thanks to a great contribution by one of our young students here in Stockholm, Lea Gorosh. And of course, we will continue online during this time of the year. And then, of course, we will continue with hybrid webinars when we can meet in real life again. So keep an eye on our LinkedIn channel, on our web, and don't forget our YouTube channel, where you can go back to these events and listen back to Tahero and his colleagues in Israel and elsewhere. So I can't wait to see you in real life, but till then, please follow us online, and looking forward to see you on one of these webinars in any week from now on. So thank you very much for listening, and see you online any day from now on. Have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And congratulations again
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.